Okay, now that we've imported a surface, talked about geolocation, the basic UI and controls, now is a good time to get into the actual CAD drawing tools that Civil 3D has to offer. We're going to do all of this staying in the Civil 3D mode, as I talked about in a previous video, and in model space. I do want to make a quick note about versions. If you're running an older version of Civil 3D, for example, 24, 25, things might look a little bit different. I think functionally you should be able to complete the project in its entirety, but some things might look different. For example, CS assign, where we assign coordinate systems, this might look like a different UI to you. It might not look this refined or polished, and the other notable exception is the model viewer. The model viewer that I showed you in the last video, this does not exist in previous versions. It is new to 26, and I think this is one of the most powerful components of Civil 3D 26 because it really allows you to look at your design in a 3D space quickly and efficiently. The existing object viewer that's right up here is really slow and clunky to use. This is really easy to use, allows you to save images and also like select and unselect objects from your viewport really quickly. So I highly recommend you use 26 if you can. All right, now let's get into the actual drawing tools. We've made a good bit of progress here, importing the surface and getting a coordinate system assigned. So now's a great time to come over here and make a save to the file. So I'm just gonna Control S to save here, and you can see it quick saved. I'll close out of this file, not Civil 3D, but just the file, and go to my file explorer. By the way, I went between tabs with Alt plus Tab, quick, easy shortcut if you haven't heard of it. And I'm just gonna click on this file, click copy, and then Control V to paste it. And, oh, I just opened a file. But now I'm just gonna go here and rename this to 1B. I'm gonna call this CAD Drawing Tools. You can call this whatever you want. You can make more saves or less saves than I do, but I'm just providing the system I'm using. That way you have a reference. All right, now that we've done that, we're just gonna go off here into the side of our workspace where the majority of our work will be on this surface or near the surface here. So we'll just go over here a bit of the ways away and talk about the drawing tools. So your main drawing tools are located on the Home tab of the ribbon under the Draw and Modify sections. If you click on the drop downs, you can actually see that there are more tools available than what is just shown, but you'll rarely be diving into these. You can also access pretty much every single command through the command line where you just type. It's also important to note that anything you make will be assigned a layer, and you can see a list of all of the layers here. Some of these should be pretty self-explanatory. A is architectural layers, C is civil layers, and as you go down, there are different layers. V might be for utilities or analysis or something like that. I don't actually know, maybe existing. And so this is a great place to kind of change object styles, isolate objects as you need to, and you can create new layers as well. To get started with the actual drawing, the first thing we'll look at is this line tool. So if you click on it, you can see a bunch of different options to create a line for. But the easiest one to do is just to click on the line tool, create a line, and you can draw a line anywhere you want. For example, I just made a line. You'll notice I left-clicked on this point here, and it lets me keep going. So I can make another line here and another line here if I want, and I can just hit enter or hit close to end the selection. So I just hit enter there. You can also hit close or type C to end your selection. You'll also notice it made these lines as different objects. You can see that as I select them, they're different. But it is possible to select all of the lines and use the join command. It creates 3 objects into one polyline, and now we have just one object. Just continuing on with the line tool, you can also type in line, and you can make a line that way. And one of the neat things you can do is use the close command C or close, and it will automatically close your object for you. So it will connect to your starting point, which is really helpful to make sure you have all of your lines lined up. To go over some other commands, we can just keep going down this list. So the next one is a 3-point arc. So if you just select 3 points, you can see that you can make an arc if you're choosing, and there's your arc. There's a lot of different options here, so feel free to explore those or use them as you need. This is probably the most helpful command. It's called a polyline, the p-line. Polyline creates a 2D polyline where everything that you draw is one object and allows you to switch between lines and arcs as well. So for example, I can do a line like this, then I can switch by either clicking on or typing A or typing arc. I can switch to an arc, make an arc that way. I can use the line command again to go back to a line, and then I can use C for close to close the object. And this is all one object, which is super important. You can also go into your objects and you can modify any aspect of the object. You can stretch it, you can move a vertex, and if you hover over a point, there's a couple other options as well. You can stretch, add, or remove the vertex. So I can remove it, for example, that'll remove that vertex and the line is connected to it. The polyline is the object you'll be using the most. It's the most versatile and the easiest to use in my opinion. Another option is the 3D polyline. You can type 3D poly for that. This functions pretty much the exact same way as a polyline, but these lines that we make all have 0 elevation. They're put at elevation equals 0. This 3D polyline does take an elevation that you can adjust as you want, or if you make that polyline on some existing surface, it will take the elevation that the surface has. So that's really helpful as well when you are doing your design, if you ever need that. Moving on here, you can see there's a line best fit. You don't need to use that one. You probably won't be using it very often. Circle, another common one. You can do it by radius. You can do it by diameter, 2 points, 3 points. You can see all the options here. Same with the rectangle command. And one of the cool things about these objects that Civil3D makes, any closed object can be filled in with a hatch pattern. So if you come down here, you see the hatch pattern, you can click on hatch, and you can just select an object or an internal point, and it creates a hatch for that object. So the hatch is just an internal fill. There's a lot of different customization you can do here. And this is great for communicating design, either differences in materials or ground. For example, there's brick, concrete, there's grass and earth. So it's really good for delineating different types of objects you have on your site. And you can customize this a lot. So for example, let's put earth here. You'll notice that it just looks like a blob of black. That has to do with this field here, the hatch pattern scale. If we change the scale maybe to 10, you can see here it's slightly more visible. If we go up even more, maybe to 25, you can see it becomes even more visible. And maybe we go up even further, say 75. Now you can really see that hatch pattern. So it's depending on the size of your viewport, you might need to change the scaling of the hatch so it is visible. But I strongly recommend you use hatching throughout your design as a good way of communicating different materials, different buildings, different objects, whatever you have. All right, that's most of the basic drawing tools. There's a couple other here you're welcome to explore. As part of your first deliverable, you will need to submit a plan sheet, which will go over showcasing these different tools. So you should use at least the line tool, the arc tool, the polyline tool, the center/circle tool, rectangle tool, and the hatch tool. So those are all tools you need to do. You can do something similar to what I did here and just check this on a plan sheet and that would work perfectly. The other thing I want you to do is play around with these modify tools. So the modify tools are really cool. You can, for example, select an object and hit enter, and then you can move that object around a base point. So I normally pick around the center of the object and move it that way, but you can select any point you want. So say you want to move this object in relation to another object. I could click this, for example, and then move it in relation to that object. Really powerful. Other tools are the copy tool. One of the cool things about Civil3D is you can just select the object and do Control-C as well, and then Control-V. That allows you to copy an object faster. And then other tools such as the rotate tool. These are all things that you should play around. You also have to specify a base point for the rotate tool. So if I do the middle, for example, I think that's easiest to rotate about. But you can use any tool you want. The mirror tool is really cool. It allows you to make very symmetric designs quickly. So I can mirror that, for example, and select a mirror line. So I can do this, for example, and then erase source object. No, I want to keep it. So I can click no or type in N. And now you see I have a direct mirror of this object based upon the line that I drew. The other really helpful tool here is scale. You can select any object you want, hit enter, specify a base point. Here it doesn't really matter. And then you can use your cursor to scale an object, or you can type in a value as well. Say you want it to be twice as big, you can do that. One of the things I haven't told you about yet is the ability to select multiple objects. So you can select, for example, 3 objects at once, and then right-click and use the basic modify tools to move these objects. And you can move them all at once. This is really great whenever you make an error in your design, but you're already part of the way through it, or you need to move or copy or rotate a large number of objects at the same time. Sorry about that. The next set of tools I want to go over, I call the edge tools, and that is located right here in the modify tab, fillet, chamfer, and blend curves. These allow you to change any corners you might have into a fillet, which is an arc, or a chamfer, which is a straight diagonal line. I can demonstrate that for you now. You should also include an example of both fillet and chamfer in the plan sheet you submit. So to show you that right now, I'm just going to take a line object, make a line, make another line at a 90-degree angle, and hit enter. Now I'm going to select the fillet tool, select one side of the line and then the other side of the line. And, oh, looks like that didn't work. Like I said, Cell 3D can be finicky and not everything works how you would expect it to. Okay, so I selected one object. I'm going to specify a radius. Maybe I want a radius of, say, 10. And then the next, and you can see a preview of what that looks like if I select this object. And now all of a sudden I have a corner or an arc on these 2 lines. The chamfer tool works pretty much the same way, but it will connect these with a straight diagonal line instead of an arc. So include both of those in your submission. Other helpful tools, the erase tool will just remove objects from the drawing, such that. Sorry. Erase and then enter, and it's gone. That about covers it for the drawing tools. Just to re-clarify, you should include the line tool, a 3-point arc, polyline, rectangle, a circle, some kind of hatch, and also utilize the mirror tool, the scale tool, stretch tool, copy tool, as well as the fillet and chamfer tools. And you can do that anywhere. I'll just do it off to the side of the space here. And in the next video, I'll show you how to make this into a plan sheet.